I never thought something as ordinary as the flu could completely change my life. That day, I left work early, feeling exhausted and weak, eager only to get home and rest. But what awaited me there was not comfort, it was devastation. When I pulled up, I noticed a truck I didn't recognize parked outside. Strange, but I didn't dwell on it. My only thought was to get inside and collapse into bed. Yet as I walked toward the house, a strange stillness greeted me. It was too quiet. I called out for my wife, Beth, but there was no reply. As I made my way toward our bedroom, faint, muffled noises began to filter through the air, sounds that made my stomach twist for reasons far beyond illness. A part of me wanted to turn back, to not confirm the fear beginning to gnaw at me. But I kept going. Step by step, the truth loomed closer. Through the narrow opening of the bedroom door, I saw her. Beth. In bed with a man I had never seen before. The sight hit me like a punch to the chest. For a moment, I couldn't move, just stood there, my heart pounding, my hands trembling. She wasn't just my wife in that moment, she was a stranger. Her voice rang out in the room, passionate and unrestrained, and it felt like my world collapsed. My mind spun with disbelief. How could I have been so blind? How long had this been happening? Quietly, I took out my phone and snapped a few pictures. Beth's face, the man's arms around her, images I knew I'd never be able to erase from my memory. I didn't burst in or scream. Instead, I turned and walked out, every step heavy but deliberate. On my way through the garage, I spotted a screwdriver. Without thinking, I drove it into the tires of the stranger's truck. It was petty, perhaps, but in that moment, it was all I could do. Then I got into my car and drove. I didn't know where I was headed, only that I couldn't stay there. Tears blurred my vision as miles passed beneath my wheels. 24 years of marriage had ended in the span of a few minutes. The questions about who he was or how long it had been didn't matter anymore. What mattered was that my life as I knew it was gone. Yet, somewhere deep down, I sensed that what had ended that day was also the beginning of something new. I had stopped by a clinic to pick up medication for the flu, then checked into a motel across town. Going back to that house that night wasn't an option, not with the weight of what I had seen and what I was feeling. The first night in that motel felt like living inside a nightmare. Between my illness and the sting of betrayal, I could hardly breathe. Beth called over and over, but I ignored every attempt. What could she possibly say? No apology would erase what she had done. There was no fixing this. The following morning, I phoned my workplace to say I'd be taking a few days off. I needed time to think, time to figure out what my life would look like without her. Ending the marriage was no longer just an option, it was a necessity. That day, I contacted a lawyer, withdrew my savings, and began the process of separating everything, my finances, my home, my future, from Beth. This wasn't just about walking away from a relationship. It was about reclaiming my life. When I finally returned to the house, Beth was in the kitchen. Her eyes were swollen, her skin pale. "Peter, please, we need to talk. Give me a chance," she said, her voice shaking. I met her gaze, my voice cold. "You don't have anything left to say to me, Beth. I saw you. I saw you in his arms. It's over." She started crying. "But I love you." He meant nothing, it was just a mistake. "A mistake?" I said, barely keeping my anger in check. "The second you brought that man into our bedroom, you destroyed everything. That's not a mistake. That's the end of us." Beth reached toward me, her sobs making her words stumble. "Please, don't leave. We can fix this. I needed some excitement. But I still need you." I stepped back, avoiding her touch. "I don't need you, Beth. Not anymore. I'll find someone who will never betray me." Looking at her, I felt nothing. The woman I once loved had vanished, replaced by someone I didn't recognize. "I'm packing my things," I said. Her eyes widened. "Packing? Why? Can't we talk?" "I'm sorry, Peter. I made a mistake. Please." "There's nothing to fix," I cut in. "You made your choice when you brought him here. Now I'm making mine." She collapsed to the floor, sobbing. "It was just sex. It meant nothing. I love you, not him." I stood there in silence. Her words rang hollow. "You call that love? You betrayed us, Beth. You betrayed me. You've shown me exactly what you want, and it's not me. Her crying filled the room, but I felt only a strange emptiness. In that moment, I knew my love for her was gone for good. The weeks that followed were a blur of change. I moved into a modest motel room, pushed forward with the divorce, and even quit my job. For the first time in years, I had no obligations, no marriage, no home, no career tying me down. I was free to go anywhere, do anything. It was during that time of freedom that I met Maud McDermott, a woman with striking red hair and eyes that held both sorrow and hope. We were introduced through friends, and from the moment we spoke, I felt an undeniable connection. She too had been wounded by betrayal, and together we found the peace we'd been searching for. As the days passed, my bond with Maud grew deeper. I came to see that meeting her was no accident. We both deserved a fresh start. Beth's betrayal, painful as it was, had actually been the push I needed to leave a life where I'd been quietly suffocating. Standing one day on a mountaintop with Maud by my side, I felt a surge of gratitude. The worst moment of my life had led me here, to love, freedom, and the person I had always wanted to be. The heartbreak that once crushed me had, in the end, set me free.